Hey guys, AYT here and welcome back to another video. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm really excited to be recording this, so I want to get straight into it. However, this is not my idea, so I'm gonna have to, do this stuff. So I got this idea from a guy named Shisui Entertainment. I think that's how it's said. Anyway, I'm subscribed to him. He has some great ideas, and he actually executes them good because there are some people that have amazing ideas, but they don't execute the ideas in the right, you know, the right place, or they don't really think about some of it, and you're just like, oh well, that's ruined it, but it was a good idea. So he executes them. He executes them amazingly. So if you have any spare time and you liked this video, then you should go check out his channel and watch his version of it. Anyway, alright, let's do this. So we begin in a crossover world between My Hero Academia and Soul Eater. There will not be two separate worlds, they will both be in the same world. So yeah, he can't cross over to Soul Eater world or anything. They're all in the same world. And there are heroes and villains. There are heroes and villains, but there is also witches, Kishin, Meisters, and weapons to fit those Meisters. If you guys haven't seen Soul Eaters, then you won't know what I'm talking about. Also, I probably put you should watch Soul Eater before this, and My Hero Academia. Even though this won't really have much, it won't really spoil. Actually, yes, it will. Never mind. You should watch that. So, yeah, let's continue. Alright, so the story actually starts in the hospital when Izuku was born. So she was holding him, and Hisashi was by her side. Basically, he was playing and cooing with Izuku, and just doing fatherly stuff with a newborn. Well, Inko's obviously she thinks that he's beautiful and he's adorable, and it's like what mothers do when a newborn when someone gives birth, she's like, oh, they're beautiful, he's beautiful, stuff like that. Yeah, so she was crying. Pain. That's what I'm gonna say. Pain. She was crying, pain and joy. And I must say, so Izuku came out. He didn't cry, and I'm pretty sure when babies come out, they cry. I don't really know because I'm not a girl, and even if I was, I'm way too young to be thinking about pregnancy. So actually, yeah, I'm too young to be thinking about pregnancy. So yeah. So at first, so Izuku came out first, calm, and at first the doctors thought he was dead. So they decided to pinch him, which I'm pretty sure is what they do anyway. And well, since Izuku was a somewhat normal baby, he did cry when they pinched him because that's what a normal baby does. And yeah, so Izuku did cry, and when he opened his eyes, everyone was shocked because the eye color that everyone was shocked. They were gold. Deku had gold eyes. Then his hair started changing. It was a blackish green, greenish black, blackish green, greenish black before, but now it was switching. One side of his hair became paler, or one half of his hair became paler and paler until it became white, and the other half started to become, well, darker and darker until it became black. So Izuku had half white hair, half black hair, he had gold eyes, and well, the doctors didn't, they were shocked and they were staring at Izuku throughout the whole transition, the whole transformation, and Well, the surgeon was shocked, snapped out of it, and then he screamed at the other doctors to go get the quirk doctor because they thought that had already activated it, even at the young age that he was. So the doctors, about after 1-2 minutes, came back with an old man. "Where's the boy?" he asked. And, well, they all pointed to the young boy who was now laughing. The quirk doctor, well, scanned Izuku and he printed a he printed some papers that, well, basically gave you information about the baby. So he grabbed them and started to read them. It said, subject, I'm going to say subject. Subject has 3 quirks. A, oh, sorry. No, I read that wrong. Subject had 3 quirks. A weak property changer quirk, a portal quirk, and a anti-quirk, or anti-quirk, whichever way you say. I say anti, but he also has the ability to change into handheld weapons. Basically, he's a weapon. Alright, let me get to the next page of the script. Sorry if you heard that, it's really loud. So, Hisashi was confused by this and he frowned. "What do you mean, had 3 quirks?" The quirk doctor, he, well, he's smarter than them, so he thinks they're just being stupid and asking, "Well, your son's anti-quirk is preventing him from using one of his other quirks, as what we can see. Both of his other quirks as what we can see now." Inko looked at Isashi and then looked at Izuku. "So, is he quirkless?" she asked. The quirk doctor shook his head. "He has the ability to change into any handheld weapon, to become a weapon for Meister. We also detected a supernatural thing residing within Izuku, but that's probably just the anti-quirk acting." Well, Inko and Hisashi, well, that took a moment to process what he just said, what the doctor just said, and after about 2 minutes, they ended up having a talk and decided they're gonna keep Izuku. Hisashi was, well, I'm gonna say in this one, Hisashi's quirkless. So he knew he was fighting to keep Izuku because he was quirkless and he knew what it was like to be quirkless in without parents. Because I'm gonna say that Hisashi's parents died at when he was 7, so he was fighting for Izuku. And Inko, she wasn't that hell bent on sending him away, but she wasn't very happy that he was quirkless, basically. And she blamed most of it on Hisashi, but we don't need to talk about that. So we're gonna do a 4-year time skip. So now Deku is in primary school with Bakugo, and he's still bullied because, well, in this world, weapons aren't treated well. They aren't treated really well. Well, they aren't treated like humans. They're treated like slaves more, kind of. And, well, because of his anti-quirk, people think that he's basically quirkless. So he still gets bullied. And yeah, at this point in time to where in this at this point in time in the current, oh my goodness, at this point in time, Izuku is currently being beaten by the whole class, including the teacher, because the teachers, they're they're messed up in this one. Okay, if you're quirkless, you're worse than a slave. Okay, if you're quirkless, you're worse than a slave, and if you're a weapon, then you even then that don't really help, does it? So, you know, Bakugo, he he's beating Izuku up more than the others because, well, he's pent up on trying to get Izuku to kill himself, let's say. So Bakugo pulled back his arm. "This is what you get for being quirkless, Deku." And he thrusts it into Izuku's, well, stomach, and it explodes. Izuku gets sent back into the wall, and I want to say a his body molded into the wall basically. So when he fell, the wall had a mold of his body in it. And this is just not started now. No, this has been happening since he was 3 years old. Because I'm gonna say that he Bakugo on the whole class unlocked their quirk early. So they started to bully Izuku for 1 year. Day in, day out, he'd be mercilessly beaten by the whole class. And Izuku told his dad one day, and he actually complained, but nothing happened. So when the teacher found out that Hisashi had complained, he told the whole class, and Izuku got beaten so badly he had to be hospitalized for 10 days. When Inko asked about it, he would lie and just tell her that all these kind of excuses, like he fell down the stairs. And his mom, well, she would, for the most part, believe him because Izuku wouldn't have lied to her, but she knew there was something going on about after like the second month, but she didn't say anything because like I said, he's actually tried. Anyway, so school, after one day at school, Izuku was walking home. He didn't notice it, but Bakugo was following him. Katsuki already knew where Deku lived because he'd followed him. Basically, stalker, pedophile, whatever you want to call him. He's older than Izuku, so technically he is a pedophile. Anyway, yeah, so he knew where Deku lived, but the plan he wanted to execute needed the whole family in the house. So Izuku, after about 10 minutes of walking, finally arrived home. And if you're asking me why would a 4-year-old be walking home by himself after school, good question. Plot. Plot, okay? It's all plot. If something doesn't make sense, blame it on plot. Okay? So yeah, so Izuku finally made it to his house and he knocked on the door. Inko, well, Inko opened the door, and I'm gonna say just for this day because something's about to happen. He doesn't get beaten up. Okay, so he came home. He still has the bruises from yesterday and all the cuts and everything, but he didn't get anything new today. And Inko was kind of surprised because she'd basically known she would know when Izuku had something new. She'd like photographic memory, basically. So yeah, she let Izuku in, and Hisashi soon came after her. I must say they didn't really live in a big house. They were above average, but they weren't like they wouldn't be like All Might rich. We've never seen All Might's house, so I can't really say. I'm just gonna say All Might lived in mansion, even though yeah, All Might lived in mansion. Anyway, so yeah, Bakugo had he'd been doing some exercise, working up a sweat and heating himself up to produce even more sweat. I don't think he can actually do this, but I'm just gonna say he can plot. So when everyone was inside, he walked towards the entrance and rested his hand on the door. It was at this moment that all the sweat traveled towards his hand, and he shouted, "Die!" And an explosion the size of, I must say, imagine someone throwing 7 grenades at a house. That's how big it was. It didn't hurt anyone else. I'm gonna say they lived in a kind of remote area. It didn't hurt anyone else, but the explosion went off anyway. And what am I saying? And Bakugo immediately after that, he propelled himself away after throwing the seventh grenade, so that he wouldn't be attacked. I mean, he wouldn't be blown up, even though it wouldn't hurt him anyway. But and so we go to inside the house just before the explosion. So Izuku was sitting down and he heard something hit the window. So when he heard something hit the window, so he told his dad about it, and his dad went to go check. Dad and mom went to go check it out. And when they opened the door, they saw a grenade. And Izuku didn't get time to see this, but they both held hands because they already knew that it was too late. Like they were going to die. Even if they ran away, they wouldn't make it in time. So they held hands and they looked at Izuku. Inko was crying, and Hisashi, well, he was crying even more than Inko. You may ask how they have so much time. Plot. I'm gonna stop saying that now. So yeah, they were crying. Izuku looked at them, and then he saw the grenade just before it went off, and there was a huge explosion. However, just before the explosion reached Izuku, a portal appeared basically, and Izuku was sucked in. And the last thing he saw before darkness was his parents smiling at him and crying, waving, and then they were gone. Izuku, it took him a few moments to register what happened, and he started screaming. Like, screaming. He was so gosh damn angry. Like, I don't know how to describe how angry he is. Just know that he was probably, if he found out he would do it, he would torture them in the worst possible way you can think of. So that happened, and I'm gonna say 10 minutes after Izuku was screaming, he opened his eyes and he found himself. He found there was an area, like a portal-ish area, a portal opening to an area. So since this was the only choice he had, unless he wanted to look at darkness for the rest of his life, he decided to, well, walk out. And the portal closed instantly. As soon as he took the step out, it closed. Izuku looked around and he saw nothing but a building. It said, what should I call it? I'm gonna say Victor Orphanage. Victor Orphanage. Don't ask why it's called Victor. I have a lawnmower and it says Victor, and I just looked at it and I was like, you know what? Okay. So it's called Victor Orphanage. And yeah, Izuku walked in. No, he'd just seen his parents he'd literally just seen his parents get exploded. So he wasn't in the best state. When the receptionist saw him, they were just like, oh, okay, man, okay, no parents. Looks like he'd just been burned because I'm gonna say there was ash, and there was ash, no scorch marks because, like I said, the explosion didn't reach him, but there was ash on his face and all over his body. His clothes were a bit burnt. So yeah, okay, so kid, no parents, crying, bad state. He needs to be here. So they ended up taking Izuku, and we're gonna skip. How long should I make this? Alright, 2 year time skip. So he's 6 turning 7 now. Yeah, 6 turning 7 now. So if you guys can hear that plane, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's really annoying. I hope you guys can't hear that plane. I really do. That would be a problem if you could. Anyway, back into the story. So yeah, Izuku looked. What am I saying? Looked. So yeah, 2 years later, 2 years later, Izuku's 6 years old now, and he'd been bullied still because quirkless, kind of considered quirkless, and he was a weapon. And I'm gonna say the people in Victor were mostly meisters. There were a few weapons, and Izuku did have friends which were the weapons. And I'm gonna say he had a few meister friends too, but they weren't like the strong ones. Like the strong ones would be Izuku. And like, because Izuku was already used to not saying anything, he didn't tell or snitch or anything. So that happened, and I'm gonna say, oh, I want to make this an invisible girl X Deku. Or Toru X Deku, same person. I say It would make sense because Izuku is an anti-quirk, therefore her quirk wouldn't actually work on him and he could see her. I don't know. I might just leave that to you lot. I feel like leaving that to you lot, just like, yeah, yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave that to you lot. It would make relatively a lot of sense. It would make a bit of sense. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that to you lot. I want you guys to give me a ship. And if it's a zero, I really hate zero. I don't know why I hate her so much. I just don't like her. She's just so. She's not a person I would consider Izuku type. But hey, if you guys want a zero, I'll do a zero. And the kindness of my heart, and the heart's probably gonna be crying too. I actually do not like that girl. So yeah, you guys can choose who the ship will be, and that will be who he gets adopted by. Guys, don't forget to check out Shisui Entertainment, subscribe to him, like his What If Deku Was a Weapon video because to me, it's really good. And if you like this video, then you should also like his video. So yeah, I guess I'll be seeing you guys next time. Peace.